Sometimes the phone calls that change your life come from the most unexpected places. For me, it wasn't a doctor with bad news or a lawyer with documents to sign. It was my bank. A simple courtesy call that shattered everything I thought I knew about trust, family, and the life I'd spent 38 years building. I'm going to share something with you today that's difficult to talk about even now. It's about a choice I made out of love and how that choice cost me almost everything. My name is Ruth Anderson, and I'm 72 years old. Well, 74 now, if we're being precise about when this story really ends, though I'm not sure it ever truly will. I spent 38 years working for the Postal Service, rain or shine, delivering mail to the same neighborhoods until I knew every dog's name and every family's story. My hands are still rough from those years of handling packages in winter cold and summer heat. I never minded the work. It was honest, it was steady, and it was mine. I lost my husband Robert when Kevin, our son, was only 12. Heart attack, sudden and cruel, the way these things often are. Robert was a good man, quiet, hard-working, the kind who fixed neighbors' fences without being asked. After he died, it was just Kevin and me against the world. I worked double shifts when I could, took on extra routes during the holidays. I wanted Kevin to have opportunities I never had. I wanted him to go to college, to have choices. Kevin was smart, everyone said so. His teachers called him bright and creative. But bright and creative doesn't always translate to focused and responsible. He went to community college for 2 years, dropped out, said it wasn't for him. That was fine, I told myself. Not everyone needs a degree. He'd find his path. He got a job in retail, then quit. Tried telemarketing, hated it. Worked in car sales for a while. That seemed promising, but something always went wrong. A disagreement with the manager, a toxic work environment, a better opportunity that never quite materialized. By the time Kevin was 45, in 2022, he'd had maybe 15 different jobs. He was living in a studio apartment across town, always between opportunities, always on the verge of something big. And I kept believing him. What else could I do? He was my son, my only child. The last piece of Robert I had left in this world. That same year, I had a stroke. A mild one, the doctors said, like there's such a thing as a good stroke. I was in the hospital for a week, and the recovery took months. My left hand still trembles sometimes when I'm tired. The doctors told me to reduce stress, to simplify my life, to stop worrying so much about every little thing. You need to take it easy, Mrs. Anderson, they said, as if a lifetime of taking care of everything could be switched off like a light. Kevin visited me every day in the hospital. He brought flowers, magazines, those chocolate pudding cups I like. He seemed genuinely worried, more attentive than he'd been in years. Maybe the stroke scared him into realizing I wouldn't be around forever. I remember thinking maybe this was the wake-up call he needed, that finally, at 45, my boy was growing up. One afternoon, about a month after I got home from the hospital, Kevin came over with Chinese takeout. We ate in my small kitchen, the same one where I'd made him breakfast before school for all those years. He asked about my medications, my physical therapy appointments, whether I needed help with anything around the house. Then he said, "Mom, I've been thinking. You're managing all your finances alone, dealing with bills, keeping track of everything. That's a lot of stress, especially now. What if something happened and I needed to help you? What if you had another stroke and couldn't access your accounts? I set down my fork. I've been managing fine, Kevin. I know you have. You've always been so independent. He reached across the table and took my hand, the one that still trembled. But you don't have to do everything alone anymore. I have time now, between jobs, and I want to help. What if we made your bank account joint? That way, if you need anything, I can take care of it for you. You wouldn't have to stand in line at the bank, deal with all that hassle. I hesitated. That account held $180,000. Every penny I'd saved over 38 years of early mornings and sore feet. It was my retirement, my safety net, my independence. But Kevin's hand was warm on mine, and his eyes were Robert's eyes, and I was tired. So tired of doing everything alone. "Are you sure you have time for this?" I asked. "I don't want to burden you." "Mom, you're not a burden. You're my mother. Let me do this for you, please." 2 weeks later, we sat in the bank together while the manager explained the paperwork. Kevin would be added as a joint account holder with full access. He could deposit, withdraw, transfer, anything I could do. The manager asked me twice if I was certain, if I understood what I was signing. I remember feeling slightly annoyed. Of course I understood. This was my son. I signed the papers. For the first few months, everything seemed fine. Better than fine, actually. Kevin called me weekly to review the account balance, to confirm which bills he'd paid. He handled my utility payments, my insurance premiums, even set up automatic payments for my medications. "See, Mom," he'd say, "isn't this easier? You can just focus on feeling better." I did feel better, lighter somehow. It was nice to have someone else shoulder part of the load. Kevin seemed more stable, too, more purposeful. He talked about getting back into sales, about some contacts he was developing. I thought maybe having responsibility for my finances was giving him a sense of purpose, helping him mature. Then, in March of 2023, I noticed Kevin had a new car. Not new, but newer than the 15-year-old Honda he'd been driving. A sleek gray sedan that looked expensive. "Where'd this come from?" I asked when he picked me up for a doctor's appointment. "Oh, a buddy of mine needed to sell it quick. I got a great deal." He patted the dashboard affectionately. "Practically stole it." A few weeks later, I noticed he was wearing different clothes, designer labels I recognized from commercials. When I commented, he laughed it off. "You can't show up to sales meetings looking like a bum, Mom. Got to dress for the job you want, right?" In May, he mentioned he was investing in a business opportunity. "This guy I know is starting a logistics company, regional delivery, stuff like that. He's looking for partners. It's a sure thing, Mom. I'm getting in on the ground floor." "That sounds expensive," I said carefully. "I've got it covered. Don't worry." He changed the subject. I tried not to worry. I tried to trust him. But a small voice in my head, the same voice that had warned me about bad weather before my postal routes, kept whispering that something wasn't right. Then came the phone call. September 19th, 2023. I remember the date because it was Robert's birthday. He would have been 75. I was sitting in my armchair, looking at our wedding photo, when the phone rang. "Mrs. Anderson." This is Jennifer Michaels from First National Bank. Yes? My heart started pounding. Banks didn't call unless something was wrong. I'm calling because our fraud detection system has flagged some unusual activity on your account. We want to verify that you're aware of several large withdrawals that have been made over the past 6 months. My mouth went dry. Large withdrawals? What do you mean? There was a pause, the kind that comes before bad news. Mrs. Anderson, since March, there have been withdrawals totaling $127,000 from your account. Were you aware of these transactions? The room tilted. I gripped the arm of my chair. $127,000? That's not possible. I'm going to email you a detailed statement right now. Do you have access to email? My hands shook so badly I could barely type my password. When the document loaded, I stared at the screen, not understanding what I was seeing at first. Then the numbers came into focus. March 15th, $15,000. Withdrawal, Kevin Anderson. April 3rd, $8,000. Withdrawal, Kevin Anderson. April 28th, $12,000. Withdrawal, Kevin Anderson. May 20th, $18,000. Withdrawal, Kevin Anderson. It went on and on. Dozens of withdrawals, some large, some small, all made by Kevin, all perfectly legal because his name was on the account. I called him immediately. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" He sounded casual, cheerful even. "Kevin, I just got a call from the bank." My voice came out strangled. "They said you've withdrawn $127,000 from my account. Tell me this is a mistake." Silence. Long, damning silence. "Kevin? Mom, I can explain." "Where is my money?" I was screaming now, something I'd never done. "Where is my money?" "I was going to tell you, I swear. I invested it in that business I told you about. It was supposed to be a sure thing, but what? But what, Kevin? It didn't work out. The guy, Mom, I think he scammed me. The money's gone." I couldn't breathe. Gone? $127,000 is gone? I'm a victim too. I was trying to help us, trying to make more money so you'd be comfortable. I thought, you stole from me. I didn't steal anything. His voice turned defensive, angry. My name is on that account. Legally, that money is as much mine as yours. I had every right to use it. Those words, those specific words, they're burned into my brain. He'd planned this. He'd known exactly what he was doing when he asked to be added to my account. This wasn't a mistake or poor judgment. This was calculated. I hung up on him and immediately called the bank back. I want him removed from my account. Right now. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Anderson. We can certainly remove him going forward, but regarding the money that's already been withdrawn, since he was a joint account holder, those were legal transactions. You'd need to pursue this through the courts. I called the police. The officer who took my report was kind but firm. "Ma'am, I understand you're upset, but this is a civil matter. He didn't steal from you in the legal sense. You gave him access to the account. But I didn't give him permission to take my life savings." "I know, ma'am. I know. But permission was implied when you made him a joint holder. You need to talk to a lawyer." I did talk to a lawyer, several lawyers. They all said the same thing. I had a case, but it would be difficult and expensive. I could sue Kevin for breach of fiduciary duty, maybe argue that he misrepresented his intentions when I added him to the account, but proving fraud would be hard. And even if I won, collecting the judgment would be another battle entirely. I used the last $5,000 from my account to retain an attorney. We filed suit in November 2023, demanding Kevin return the money plus damages. Kevin hired his own lawyer. With what money, I don't know. Maybe he hadn't spent everything after all. The case dragged on for months. Depositions, document requests, court dates that got postponed. Kevin's lawyer argued that the money had been legitimately invested and lost. My lawyer demanded proof of these investments. Kevin produced some emails and text messages about a logistics venture that supposedly went bankrupt. It was all vague, convenient, probably fabricated, but we couldn't prove it was fabricated. During his deposition, Kevin sat across from me for the first time since the phone call. He'd lost weight. He looked older, tired. For a moment, I saw the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Then he opened his mouth. "I never meant for this to happen, Mom. I really thought I was going to make money, going to surprise you with returns on the investment. I'm a victim here, too. A victim." He kept using that word. In August 2024, after 9 months of legal battles, the judge issued his ruling. Kevin was ordered to return $100,000, acknowledging that while his access to the account was legal, he had breached his fiduciary duty by using the funds for personal investments without my knowledge or consent. It felt like a victory for about 10 minutes. Then Kevin's lawyer filed paperwork declaring Kevin had no assets and no ability to pay. Bankruptcy proceedings began. The court appointed someone to investigate his finances. They found nothing. The new car, leased and already returned. The nice clothes, sold. Kevin was living with a friend, had no job, no savings, no property. On paper, he was destitute. The court ordered wage garnishment, but you can't garnish wages from someone who doesn't work. They put a lien on any future assets he might acquire, but that felt like betting on rain in the desert. Over the next year, through the garnishment process and one temporary job Kevin held for 3 months, I recovered $18,000. That's it. $18,000 out of $127,000. My account balance now sits at $63,000. I'm 74 years old. According to the actuarial tables, I could live another 15 or 20 years. That's roughly $3,000 to $4,000 per year, plus my Social Security. It's not enough. It's nowhere near enough. 6 months ago, I started working again. There's a supermarket 3 blocks from my apartment. Well, my new apartment. I had to move out of the place I'd lived in for 20 years because I couldn't afford it anymore. The Lianzhou Fang, the senior housing. It's clean enough, but the walls are thin and there's a waiting list for everything. The supermarket hired me as a part-time cashier. 20 hours a week, minimum wage plus a small senior discount on groceries. I stand at register 4, scanning items, making small talk with customers who are young enough to be my grandchildren. Sometimes my left hand trembles and I have to pause, have to steady myself against the counter. My manager knows about the stroke. She's kind, tells me to take breaks whenever I need them. I see mothers shopping with their children, and I wonder if they can imagine a future where those children betray them. I see elderly couples shopping together, and I feel a sharp pang for Robert, for what we could have had if he'd lived. I see young men Kevin's age, and I wonder if their mothers trust them, if that trust is misplaced. I canceled my membership to the garden club. $40 a month I couldn't justify anymore. I stopped my weekly donations to the church, even though I've given there for 30 years. I buy the store brand everything now. I keep the heat low in winter and the air conditioning off in summer. I've become one of those old people I used to see at the post office, the ones who'd argue about the price of a stamp going up 3 cents. Kevin has tried to contact me 4 times, once through his lawyer, twice through mutual acquaintances, once in a handwritten letter that arrived at the supermarket. Someone must have told him where I work. The letter said, "Mom, I know you're angry. I know I made mistakes, but I'm still your son. I'm struggling too. Can't we work through this together? I need you." I tore it up without finishing it. He needs me. After everything, he still thinks he has the right to need me. I've changed my will. It was simple before. Everything to Kevin. Because who else did I have? Now it reads differently. The lawyer helped me draft it. Whatever remains of my estate when I die will go to the National Center on Elder Financial Exploitation, an organization that helps seniors avoid exactly what happened to me. Kevin will receive nothing, not 1 penny. He's already taken more than his share. People ask me sometimes, the other cashiers during breaks, the social worker who visits the senior housing once a month. They ask if I think I'll ever forgive him. They say forgiveness is for me, not for him, that holding on to anger will only hurt me more. But here's what I've learned, and it's not about forgiveness, it's about trust. Kevin didn't just steal my money. Money is replaceable, theoretically, even if I'll never replace it now. No, what Kevin stole was something far more valuable and far less tangible. He stole my safety. I used to sleep soundly, knowing I had a cushion, a buffer against the uncertainties of old age. Now I lie awake, calculating, if I get sick, if I need long-term care, if the washing machine breaks, if my medications go up in price. Every unexpected expense is a crisis. He stole my independence. I worked for 38 years so I wouldn't have to depend on anyone. Now I'm working at 74, not by choice, but by necessity, and every shift is a reminder that I failed to protect myself. He stole my dignity. There's a specific shame that comes with being fooled, especially when you're fooled by love. Every time I have to tell this story, to lawyers, to social workers, to the judge, to the Victims Assistance Program, I feel it again. The stupidity of trusting my own child. But most of all, Kevin stole something I didn't even know I had until it was gone. My faith in the basic goodness of family bonds. I used to believe, truly believe, that no matter what else went wrong in life, your children would protect you in your old age the way you protected them in their youth. That was the unspoken contract I thought we had. I see it now for what it was. A fairy tale. A dangerous one. The worst moments are when I catch myself making excuses for him. When I think, he must have been desperate, or maybe he really did think he'd make the money back, or he's always been impulsive, he didn't think it through. These thoughts sneak in late at night, and I have to physically shake my head to dislodge them. Because those excuses are the same trap that got me here in the first place. The belief that my love could transform his character, that my forgiveness could redeem his choices. I've met other women through the legal aid office, through the senior center. They have similar stories. A daughter who took out credit cards in her mother's name, a grandson who borrowed his grandfather's car and sold it, a nephew who convinced his aunt to co-sign a loan he never intended to repay. Financial exploitation of the elderly isn't rare. It's an epidemic we don't talk about because the shame is too great. And here's the cruelest irony. The very qualities that make someone a good parent, generosity, trust, the instinct to help your child, these are the same qualities that make them vulnerable to this kind of betrayal. The better you loved, the easier you are to exploit. If I could go back to that afternoon in March 2022, to Kevin sitting in my kitchen with Chinese takeout, making his reasonable-sounding proposal, what would I do differently? Everything. Nothing. I don't know. I want to believe I'd say no, that I'd protect myself. But I also know I was tired, scared from the stroke, and lonely. So lonely. And Kevin knew exactly which buttons to push. People say blood is thicker than water, and they mean it as a comfort, a reassurance that family bonds are unbreakable. But I've learned that blood can also be thicker in a different way. It can make you blind, can obscure judgment, can make betrayal easier, because the victim will always make excuses, will always want to believe the best. My advice, if anyone wants it, is this. Never, ever make someone a joint holder on your bank account unless they're your spouse, not your children, not your siblings, not your best friend of 40 years. If you need help managing finances, there are other ways: power of attorney documents with specific limitations, trust accounts with oversight, authorized user status that allows them to see the account but not withdraw. But joint ownership? That's handing someone the keys to everything you've worked for and hoping they won't drive away with it. And if you're thinking, but my child would never do that to me, I want you to know. I thought the same thing. I raised Kevin. I changed his diapers, nursed him through chickenpox, helped him with homework, attended every school play and parent-teacher conference. I thought I knew him. I thought our bond was different, special, unbreakable. I was wrong. These days, I take the bus to work at 6 a.m. because my shift starts at 7. I eat lunch in the break room, usually something I've packed at home because the cafe is too expensive. I scan groceries for 8 hours, my feet aching in shoes that are 2 years old and should have been replaced last year. I ride the bus home, heat up dinner, watch an hour of television I don't really pay attention to, and go to bed around 9 p.m. because sleeping means I'm not spending money. This is my life now. Not the retirement I planned, not the golden years I worked 38 years to earn. This is the life Kevin's choices created for me. Sometimes customers are kind. They see my name tag, my white hair, my trembling hand, and they say, "You shouldn't have to work at your age." They mean well. I just smile and say, "Keeps me busy," because what else can I say? That I have to work because my son stole my retirement? That I trusted the wrong person and now I'm paying for it with every aching step at the end of every shift? There are moments, rare, unexpected moments, when I see a mother and son shopping together, laughing about something, and I feel a grief so profound it takes my breath away. Not for the money. For what Kevin and I could have been. For the relationship I thought we had. For the old age I imagined, where maybe he'd visit on Sundays, where I'd be the grandmother to children he might someday have, where we'd share holidays and memories and the comfortable ease of a lifetime together, that future is gone. Kevin made his choice, and in doing so, he chose to end more than just my financial security. He ended us. There is no going back from this, no working through it, no family reconciliation in our future. You can't rebuild trust once it's been demolished this completely. I'll keep working as long as I can. I'll keep stretching those $63,000 as far as they'll go. I'll keep living in my small apartment with its thin walls, keep taking the bus, keep buying store-brand cereal, and skipping the garden club meetings I used to love. And I'll keep telling this story whenever anyone will listen, because if it stops even one person from making the same mistake I did, then maybe, some tiny bit of good can come from this nightmare. But late at night, when I can't sleep because I'm calculating whether I can afford my blood pressure medication this month, I don't think about forgiveness or healing or letting go. I think about how I worked 38 years in rain and snow and summer heat. I think about how I raised a child alone after my husband died. I think about every sacrifice, every extra shift, every dollar carefully saved. And I think about how Kevin took it all in 6 months and called himself a victim. That's the truth I'm left with. Not a life lesson about forgiveness or moving forward. Just the cold, hard truth that sometimes the people you love most are the ones who hurt you worst, and no amount of love or sacrifice can protect you from that. I'm 74 years old, and I'm starting over with $63,000 and a part-time job at a supermarket. This is my story. This is what trust cost me. And if you're reading this, if you're thinking about adding your child's name to your bank account, please think of me standing at register 4, hands trembling, scanning groceries I can barely afford to buy myself. Don't make my mistake. Protect yourself, even from those you love, especially from those you love. Because in the end, I learned that blood may be thicker than water, but it's not thicker than greed.